the market was doing, I'm breaking the profit. On my way, people calling me names, all the trouble I see, I ain't do at a piece. When the suffering, the sources, I can't pay the phone, how I get paid. Sooner or later, my hustle pay. Lepe, and I'm rushing myself. Keep it cool, everything have a CC. Too much rushing, I probably chasing. One day. One day. I'll get it cool. One day, my
hustle gonna pay one day. Any mess they're gonna see my face. If I know I'm not watching it. One day, success gonna come my way. I know my hustle gonna pay one day. Any mess they're gonna see my face. If I know I'm not watching it. One day, success gonna come my way. Yeah. My mama was so angry. My papa was so angry. My friend was your money. Any mess that will come on the knees. So I on my way. 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 I'm on my way to this place and I don't give my money. Don't give my money, oh. Don't give my money. I want make mama happy. Want make papa happy. Want make all my brothers and sisters to come around me. Yeah. Capilico, why you know you hustle? Why saying the go by the Genesis? Shall come at the fire, shall come at the power. I feel never be working on Wednesday. You must look for the mile, you must look for the mile. All in the dark, all in the dark, all in the reach, all in the reach, all in the sun. My mama was so angry. No for air. My papa was so angry. My friend was your money. Any mess that will come on that knees. So I on my way. 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 I on my way.
Armando, you are a famous star now. So what do you have to say?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women. Welcome to Attorney Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. Excuse me. It's 64 degrees this morning in Providence, Rhode Island. The humidity is here, and we're going to be going up to the high 80s today. So you're going to go out to the beach. You're going to hang out. The activities go on for the Independence Weekend. Well, what are you going to do? Take heed and govern yourselves accordingly. Safety first. Okay? Judge Jackson, our first African-American female Associate Justice of the United States of America, the first female African American. Congratulations. We have an Associate Justice of the United States of America, a black woman representing our nation and us on the High Court's bench. Even though the court needs reform, because all the people on the court now, majority of the people are conservatives, Donald Trump people, leading that way. Everybody talking about reform. So we can see where we're going with this court, okay, and what impact the new justice, associate justice, will have on our court, okay. What else we woke up to this morning? I guess that all the news I really want to touch on already. My topic for this morning is dealing with Liberian women, giving Liberia's women their freedoms from bad societal norms by the Constitution of Liberia. Our women got rights under our constitutional laws, or constitutional law. And many of these rights have been trampled upon, suppressed, because like everywhere else, you have men ruling. They try to control women. They try to be dominating because they are the dominant sex. And from time immemorial, this has been a problem. But fortunately for Liberia, we have been one of the nations that have been innovative in our thinking when it comes to women's rights. We had Angie Brooks Randall, who was the first female at the General Assembly. She came from Liberia. She was appointed from Liberia. We have Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We have many other women that are prominent representatives of the progress and advancement of women's rights in Liberian society. But our society is a unique society. It's unique like many other, it's like many other third world societies, but ours is unique in our own way, the Liberian way. Because we have two unique societies. We have our westernized society, and we have our indigenous society. Our westernized society is more focused and direct, as with our indigenous society, which is composed of 16 different tribal groups, all claiming to be united under one culture, which is not true, which is not realistic. You can have 16 tribal groups, although similar in some aspects, but with different cultures and practices in some aspects too, being the same thing, a homogeneous group. They are not a homogeneous group. Okay? So here we are with these two societies. How do we deal with them? The women in one society are exposed to westernization, are exposed to education, are exposed to a different kind of civilization. Whereas our indigenous women are more ancient, because our indigenous societies have existed from time immemorial. Many of their practices are ancient compared to modernization. So we have these two types of societies. And one society is more advanced than the other. So when our leaderships come into power and want to attempt to free our women from the baggages of time, I say time because women have not been enslaved like black people, but over time, women have always been suppressed and controlled and demeaned and been subservient to men from time immemorial. So that's another baggage of time. So we have these two societies. And when our leadership come to rule our people, we have to understand that these two societies are significant to Liberia's progress and advancement because one society cannot advance so far above the other society, as we have already because of our history. The Western Nile Society of Liberia has advanced so far than our indigenous society. And our indigenous society needs to catch up. There's nothing wrong with our indigenous society being culturally focused. People say, oh, well, we want to attend traditional schools. Yeah, we want to attend traditional schools. Well, let's make it feasible enough so when we develop traditional schools, when people want to go to schools where they can learn everything in Pele, or they can learn everything in Bandi, or they can learn everything in Gisi, and feel comfortable living in the environment. Because you know, if you learn Unekisi and Basso and Gola, you cannot come and deal in the greater Liberian society except you know English. So if you're going to focus only on the tribal languages, that means you can only live in the counties that you're from. People in America, right here in Rhode Island, can't speak English, and they've been here for years, but they live in a Portuguese society. They live in a convergent society. They don't come out of their society. They don't come out of their community because in their community they got everything there. They got stores, they got everything. When they travel to other relatives, other places where they can speak the same languages and have the same culture. So people can live like that. You can live with living without speaking English, but you gotta live in your local community where you are. So if you wanna want to learn Bassa, and you wanna want us to have Basco schools, and if that is feasible for the government to afford, it can be affordable. But you must know that when you learn Bassa, you are limited in your capacity to dealing with other Liberians or traveling to other countries, except you are bilingual. You can speak Bassa and English. So we have to understand these things. And there is nothing wrong with our people learning their languages proficiently, to speak it well. But all these things have to be set up. All these things have to be set up where it will not hamper our greater national development. Because if we're going to focus on tribal schools, that means we're going to take something from our national development to develop these schools. If people want government to do it. So right now, our primary interest is the national interest. We can't focus on local interest right now as a nation. And our women's rights are fundamental to the progress and advancement of our country. Because in every aspect of our society, Liberian women have significant influence and impact. So they got to understand what it is, not only to lead, but to be in charge, to play with big money like men do. Many of the men put the women in charge, but they still control the money. They still give them the petty change. Look at America. Women still fighting for equal pay, and they're still doing some of the same work men doing, but they can't get paid equal pay. So these are the things that go on all over the world. You know, even though we're better with the pay in Liberia with women, I don't think women are disparaged when it comes to pay for equal jobs. But the point is that only a few women can access those things. The masses of Liberian women are indigenous women. So, and that's what repelled me so much about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It really pissed me off because she came to liberate our women, but she didn't come to liberate indigenous women. She came to liberate her family, the educated and westernized women. You know, she used our indigenous women to set them up because all these colloquiums she had. How does it help our women with politics? Or you want focus, you want drive our women to focus on politics to change their own destiny. And it's hard when men controlling everything. Men will only let you in when they want to let you in. So this is the problem. We cannot change our women's destiny by introducing them into politics, by getting them to run for office. It's interesting. Nothing wrong with that. For the westernized women who are educated and can navigate that kind of society. Our westernized women, they can compete in the arena, but not all Liberian women. And we have to make the playing field equal. So how do we make the playing field equal? And this way Ellen Johnson failed us. Because in order to make the playing field equal, there must be some mechanism that will raise the standard of our women from the indigenous society. Without them going to school, formal education. Because for them to go to formal education to catch up with the westernized women, it will be forever. It will be forever. But the equalization comes with the ability for them to have equal spending power. When the westernized Liberian women can go to school and get a work and get educated and work for government in positions that our indigenous women cannot work in. But if our indigenous women are given the vocational training and education they need to make the kind of money that will make them accessible to the same things that our westernized women are accessible to, that equalizes the playing field. But we have to do it for our country. Because what the westernized women have access to, our indigenous women also have access to it. When they get their education, no matter where they get a high school education, they have access to the universities of Liberia, different universities, if they can go there to school. So if they can afford all these kind of things to advance their lives, they have access to represent our government and be government officials too. But not all our indigenous women have the propensity or that will to go to school for formal education. So if they don't have that kind of will, and many of them are raised in the traditional settings where we still don't have access to schools in those places, or the access to schools are not feasible, are not as accessible. We got schools there, but people have hard time going to school. Look at right now, in some county, in some parts of Liberia, children had to cross the river in canoes. We have no ferry. Right there is putting our children's lives in danger. While I saw the children crossing the river, all of them sitting in the canoe, and I mean, were crossing the big river with them going, taking them across every morning to go to school and coming back. My heart just shrunk, man, for those children. That the future of our children striving for education. That's the struggle. That's the struggle. These days, kids and their parents know the value of westernized education because in the cultural setting, if they don't get Western education, they can't excel because our leaders are not making it feasible for our traditional people to have equality with our westernized society. Why? Because the means for them to develop and grow are not being offered to them. Everybody can't go to Western high school. So we need the means for our people to develop. And this is where Ellen Johnson suddenly failed miserably. She failed. All those colloquiums she had that brought all these women from the world to Liberia. What did it benefit our traditional women? It didn't benefit them. What are they doing? Running behind politics and all that kind of thing. That's not what our women need. Our women need education. Education. And our whole country needs education. The same education. So, what is the solution to saving our country? Right now, we need a national home economic center. Whether George Weah build it, whether somebody build it, we can't do it international. It has to be national. Where we have teachers there to teach our people. Because our society got to change. It can't change overnight. We have to make it feasible for our people to change. And for our society to change, our people must be self-sufficient. Our people must be self-sufficient. And in order for them to be self-sufficient, they must have the skills. They must have the skills necessary. And everybody can't go to formal education. So traditional and vocational education is an asset to our people. It's the asset. It's the means of giving our traditional people access to some sort of equality, financial, status-wise, because where everybody has the opportunity to rise financially and economically, there's some sort of equality there because people will become professional in their own skills. You have skilled people that can do things. Right now, many people can speak English. Many people are proficient in the language, English language. So that's why people can come and say, oh, I'm doctor, I'm this and this. Because you will not know the man a doctor, except you know them or you know their real qualification. Some people talk so well, they're so eloquent. You really got to look in the background to find out whether they got these degrees and things they say they got. So just by looking at a man and hearing him, you can't tell whether he's got a degree or not. But when you put him to the test, that's when you find out whether he say he can do what he can do. So when people were out with vocational education, come among these other people with their westernized education, and our traditional people can speak English the same way or just as good as they can, nobody will know the difference. If they got their money from selling their baking products or being their mechanics or being their what else vocational school, mechanics, welders and all these things. When they're making cash, the same cash you making, they may even make more because the people working for by the hour. You working by the month, you get a salary. Your pay is fixed. It can't be changed. If you're making $1,000 a year or a month, you're making $1,000 a month. It can't be changed. But if this man working for an hour and making $50 an hour, and he can do 6, 7, 8 cars in an hour, in the whole day in 8 hours, you know how much he will make? Because if he's knocking on one car in an hour, knock on one car for one different price, go to another mechanic work on another car, and all the work may not be the same. Some may be electrical, some may be mechanical, some may be body parts, So it depends on how he charges per hour for each work, plus labor. So that they're making more money. Your job may be easier because you got a fixed salary. You don't have to come and work, do as many cars as they may do to make the salary you're making. but they have the ability to make more, to work more hours. You got only 8 hours. You limited to only 8 hours. They can work as many hours as they want to do. They want to work all night. They can work all night. That's a profession. Once they got a business, they can do it. The hardest thing is you, who is the professional making a salary, you don't have to work as hard to make what you make as they have to work to make what you make. But they can make more if they have the ability to work. They have the smarts to hire people, to build more business, to increase their business income. All these things matter. So it matters for our women too. And our women have been left down by our leaders for too long, man. Now I read in the newspaper that the deputy speaker has just introduced a bill called an act prohibiting female genital mutilation of 2022. We know that they call it FMG. Okay? They're cutting the tongue. Okay, I'm gonna go much into detail with that. We all know what female, especially our educated people, we know what female genital mutilation is. For our common people, it's cutting the tongue. We know that. Okay? So the deputy speaker has passed a law to stop that. In 10 of our 15 counties, that practice is condoned. Female lose their clitoris at very early ages. And the manner in which they lose it is in a traditional way, where they use an old razor blade, which is terribly unhealthy. I know plenty of Liberian girls who complain of physical and problems they have from people doing that thing to them from childhood. Some of them can't have sex no more. They have severe pain and trauma from that. Some of them still bleeding in their old ages. So women suffer a lot of problems from those things. Some women, it doesn't bother them. It's just that they can't have the feeling for sex as women who have everything intact, who have their whole vulva and everything, their clitoris and everything. Those women enjoy sex. When your clitoris is cut, you can have sex, but you can't have that kind of enjoyment as somebody that hasn't had theirs cut. And this bothers a lot of people. This bothers a lot of young women. Some women don't care about it. Some of our traditional women say, well, they do it to me. Why they can't do it to you? And that's why the practice is continued. Because some people say, well, it's been going on for so long. They did it to my mom, they did it to my grandma, they did it to me. What makes you so different? They can't do it to you. It's our practice. So these women are part and parcel of the whole traditional practice. And some of it is border on religion as part of the religious practice of the tribe. And that's why it has been hard for governments to intervene, to change those laws. Because every time people intervene, they say, hey, this is our cultural and religious law. Why you want to intervene with it? This has been going on from time immemorial. So to avoid any conflicts, government have refused to intervene in that. And women throughout Africa have complained time and again to the United Nations, to the UN, to the ECOWAS, for them to stop this female genital mutilation. Because many women have suffered pain and suffering from it. It's not a sanitary process because the blade they use is a traditional blade. That's the same blade they use on everybody else. And that blade has been used over and over. Some of it, that blade is so rusty and crusty and unsanitary. Unsanitary. So people get sick just from that blade. And the manner in which they cut is not a clean cut, it's a rugged cut. So the women in pain as well as exposed to diseases. And it's not right. So for this reason, also the speaker and a few other Liberian representatives have introduced this act to the Liberian legislature for them to act on it to pass it into law. So they're going to take it back to their constituents and deal with it there. See, the people in their counties want it to be passed. Then if the people agree to it, then they will come back to the legislature and see if they can pass it. But this has to have the support of our traditional leaders, because this is where it rests. Our legislature and all of that our Western leaders, that our Westernized leaders. Wherever they take from there, they got to take it back to the chiefs, to the zoos, and all the traditional people and religious people of the tribes. Let them look at it and discuss it and decide whether they want it to be law. Okay? Before they got to come back and put it inside. This thing been going on from Tutma time. They try to change it on the Tutma time. They try to change it on the Toba time. This is not a new thing. But it is a good thing that the Deputy Speaker has brought it up again and has stressed the importance of it being changed. In the old government, they would say, oh, the Congo people now, we got the indigenous government turning it over to our chiefs and things to change for our people. So this is one other thing that needs to be changed. This is another rights of our women that need to be protected. The women themselves need to get involved with it now. Now that this bill has been passed to be acted upon, all the women societal group need to demonstrate in support of it. You see, there's a difference with support, with protest. You can protest against something and you can protest in support of something. So all the women then need to get together and march in support of this bill and let the legislators know, hey, we support this bill. Let the tribal chiefs know we support this bill. Let all the zoos, everybody know it's time for us to change this bill. But if you sit down and only depend on the legislature to pass this bill, it will not pass. It will not pass. Because this bill is going back to the tribal villages, to the chiefs, to the zoos, to hear it and decide whether they want it to pass. And only the women yourselves, you're going to get up now and start marching and letting your zoos and the chiefs and things know that you want this law to be passed. All the relatives your relatives who are relatives of chiefs and people and tribal town powermen and town chiefs and council people in the villages, you all need to get to them and start letting them know your interest in changing this law. You cannot sit down and wait for the law to be passed before you start crying that you didn't pass the law for you. This is the time now for your women to get up your butts and start coming together and start marching in support of this bill. You don't only march against things, you march for things too. Let the legislature know, let the chiefs know, let the village people know that women are in support of this bill. You get up and march in support of it, dance in support of it, and do everything to send a loud and clear message throughout the country that you're in support of this bill. That's how people promote bills. So if your women sit down and the bill does not pass, you blame yourselves. Somebody had taken the deputy speaker and some representatives have taken the move now to make a law. You got to get up and demonstrate and show that you support what they're doing, and let them know that you don't only protest for wrong, you protest for good too. Your march and demonstrate for good things too. So this is a good act by the speaker and the deputy speaker. I mean the deputy speaker and a few lawmakers, and you all need to get up and start marching and demonstrating to let the chiefs, the paramount chiefs, the villagers, and everybody who the council members who make decisions in the villages and things like that know that women of Liberia are in support of this law. That's how we do under democracy. But if you sit down and you do nothing and it doesn't pass, don't cry. Don't cry. Okay. You got to support your own interests. When people take one step for you must back it up with action. Okay? So, we know that FMG is a sort of violence against women. It's a sort of violence because they're using force on you. It's against your will, whether you're a child or not. They're not giving you opportunity to wait until you're 18 to make a decision. Oh yeah, I wanted to have my thing cut like my mom or my pa. No, they're doing it when you're a little baby. So you're exposed to all kinds of things. So under those conditions, the state has to set precedents to protect you. Because that's the job of the state, equal protection. They got to protect you. They don't protect anybody else. They got to protect the children from the harm of their parents as well. So it's what's in the best interest of the child. That's what the court looks at. Okay? So they don't look at the parents' interest, they look at the child's interest. Because sometimes the parents' interest may not coincide with what is in the best interest of the child. Okay? So the courts have standards that they go by in determining those principles. So here we are again. Our women have priorities. And our women, our indigenous women, can't be involved with politics. Politics is good, yes. When during election time, and when they want to choose their leaders, they have a right because that's their right to go out and vote and participate in campaigns and political affairs during election. But it's not an everyday thing for them. It's not an everyday thing for our women. The masses of our women. The masses of our women must be empowered on how to make a living, on how to survive, on how to enrich themselves through their own self-help endeavors, through their skills that they learn, through vocational education provided by the state. When the state can understand that everybody cannot get formal education, that we must think on the basic things that our people need, that will empower them. That will empower them. Then we can move forward to the next aspect of what needs to be done in our society. So, women's rights in Liberia, although they have been respected from time immemorial, because Liberia is one of the only African nations, when you look in our historical law, that has been very open to women leadership, to women guidance and direction, to women progress and advancement. We're one of the only African countries that have been so advanced, and it is demonstrated by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf being the first female African president on the continent. So it shows that our women have and still enjoy great freedom in our country, almost equivalent to men. And our country is still a predominantly African nation with African tendencies, where our men don't listen to women. But we still, you see how our country is so diverse? We got leaders We have had leaders that value women leadership and direction, even on a door, even on a look at our indigenous people, put the first female president of Africa there. So that demonstrates how we respect our women. We respect our women, but yet we want to dominate them. We want to control them. So that's a double sword, man. You dare if you don't, and you dare if you do. You know, so our society is unique. Women can excel to any level in our society. If it's demonstrated, you can sell to any level you can sell. If you're a strong woman, but you gotta be a strong woman. And for those women who are not strong, those are the women that we gotta come to and empower and strengthen, not through politics, not through having big jobs and things like that. No, but being able to make their only money sufficient enough to raise their integrity level, their pride and prestige, to be as equal financially as our other people. Money is an equalizer too. When these women with all education can have money to do what they want to do, the same thing these women with education can do, that's a source of equalizer. Some of the educated women will have to come and beg these women who do vocational education for money, because the women will be able to make as much money as they can make when they work. Whereas the women who are educated and getting salary are limited in how much they can make. So that's the advantages and disadvantages. And to empower our people, you got to know the good and the bad. And these bad norms, like female genital mutilation, and putting women down, and not trying to direct them into politics instead of into money making. And these are all the bad norms and things in our society. We can change them by making laws, by stopping genital mutilation, by seeing how our women should be protected from harm and evil and undue influence towards business enterprises and all these things. So there are many things we can do for our women in our society. Many things. And we need to sit down and protect our women. Protect our women. Give them opportunity to grow and prosper in ways that are not political. Because most women don't want to get into politics. Give them ways that they will enjoy doing. Women like to cook, bake, sew, all these kind of things. Let's put these institutions in our country, invest in our people, so they can get strong. I've always said that we need a central home economic center where all Liberians can go to school, and we have branches all in every county, where every Liberian will be compelled to do home economics from small up to a certain age. You must do home economics. You must learn to bake, sew, make up your bed, do all these things to make our society self-sufficient. My time is up on this topic. I think I dealt enough with that topic for this morning. So our own freedoms come from what we can do for ourselves, how we can envision our own future for our children and their children's children. Right now, our society is young, and because of the immaturity of our society, people can be led astray. Our people are not focused enough. We have a young society. So we need the leadership that will guide the society on the right path to thinking for themselves. Okay, once we get our people thinking, our people are smart. But when they are not led in the right direction, when they're not directed in the right direction, they go wild and crazy because they're smart. So we need to harness all this smartness and focus it in a way that will help our nation, not only today, but for years to come. My class is done. I see you tomorrow. Aluta continua. In the cause of the people, the struggle continues. The Tony Commander G.R. Glapohkpa Chesson class is done. I'm out of here.